Hi everyone, it's Kimber again. I just wanted to do a video on how the VA calculates what your disability percentages are. So if you're like me and you have multiple disabilities that they gave you a rating on other than 0, how they calculate what your percentage is, because just because you might have a couple ratings that are going to be over 100, if you do normal math like a normal person, doesn't mean you're going to be at 100%, unfortunately. So the best way they described it to me when I was in TAPS is you're only 100% of a person, so they're not going to give you, once you're 60% disabled, they're not going to give you a full 50 for something else, which is very debatable. Anyways, so I had 9 disabilities that they actually gave me a percentage rating on. So one was 60, that was my highest. Then it was 50, 30, 30, 20, 20, and 10, 10, and 10. So I'm going to kind of go over how you get to what your final percentage would be. I'm at 100%. But that's not mine is not permanent. One of my disabilities is not a permanent disability. So if I were to lose that, I would get knocked down to 90%. And that's a 50% rated disability that has me at 100. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a chart, and then I'm going to show you the pay chart of how the VA determines how much you're going to get paid for your compensation. So here's on benefits.va.gov. Or you can just Google VA disability rating chart. So you look on here, and my first rating was 60%. So right here. And then what you do is you look at this column. So this would be your second rating. So my first rating's at 60%. My next rating's at 50. So we go back down to 60. So that takes us to 80. So I'm going to go ahead and write these down because I always forget the numbers. So that takes us to 80%. So then what you're going to want to do if you have another disability on top of that is you're going to go down. So now we're at 80. My next disability is 30. So we're going to go over to the 30 position. So that takes us to 86. So you kind of see how that already is like really chopping your disabilities that they're giving you down quite a bit. So that one, the 30% is only worth 6 percentage points. So that's kind of crazy. So the next one, so we'll go to 86, down to 30. That takes me to 90. Okay, so we're going to scroll down to 90. 90, my next one's at 20. So we go over here. That takes me to 92. Go to 92. I have another 20. That one takes me to 94. We go down 94. I have a 10. That takes me to 95. And I have 2 more 10s after that. So if the chart were to continue and I had another, so it would take me to 95, I'd go to 95, then it would take me to 96, so on and so forth. But the way the VA works is you can only be, they don't do, random percentages. It's always in 10s. So it's either going to be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, or 100% that you're going to be rated. So what they do is on this chart here, so I landed at the 95. You don't even need to do any more calculations. That's why the chart ends right there at 94, because if you hit 95, they're not going to continue doing that, because if you're at 95, what they do is if you're at 5 and over, they're going to round you up to the next percentage. So then you would be at 100. If you were at 94, they round you down and you'd be at 90%. So if I didn't have another one, say I was at 93 for the last calculation I did, and then it took me to 94 and I didn't have any other disabilities to look at on this chart, I'd automatically go down to 90%. So it's very complicated. And when you if you file for disability after you separate, depending on when you filed, you're going to get this folder in the mail. It's going to have a bunch of papers in here. Please read it. So it'll have a little sheet in the front. It's going to go down all your disabilities that you put in for, whether they were service-connected, so they were granted or denied, and what percentage they're giving you when it was effective. So it has almost all of the ones that I claimed on here, and it tells me, 0% effective whenever. And then later on in here, it's going to go per whatever disability it is. So I'm going to read my 60% one, which I wish the military would have took a little bit more serious when I was in. I didn't realize how serious it was until after I got out. Was they evaluated me. It says service connection for valvular heart disease has been established as directly to military service. So it's service connected. So that means I'm going to get compensation for it. Then it tells you an evaluation of 60% is assigned from whatever date and blah, blah, blah. And then it says why they gave you a 60%. So they gave me a 60% based on workload of greater than 3 METs, but not greater than 5 METs, results in fatigue, dizziness, all this other stuff, right? And then it tells you additional symptoms that I have as of like what helped support their decision on giving me 60%. But then at the bottom here, it says a higher evaluation of 100% is not warranted for valvular heart disease unless like I have an active infection in my heart or chronic congestive heart failure, stuff like that. So if you file for something, which I'm trying to actually find a lawyer right now that will help me, but it's really hard because I'm already at 100%, so they don't necessarily want to help me because a lot of the times the way the law works is they won't get paid because I'm already at 100%. They get paid on whatever back pay you would get. So if you're at 90% and they got you to 100, they get paid whatever back pay you got, a portion of that for their services. But what I wanted to say was my one disability that is not permanent. If you read at the very bottom, it says, since there is a likelihood of improvement, the assigned evaluation is not considered permanent and is subject to a future review examination, which means at any time the VA could call me and they will schedule me a C&P exam, which is compensation and pension exam. And what that is what you will do then when you separate, retire, whatever you're doing. It's exams they send you to, and the doctor, whoever, specialist will evaluate whatever disability it is. So, like if I went in and my heart was getting worse and they sent me for a specialist for that, they'd evaluate it, and if it got worse, then they could bump me up and I'd have information to support that. But since that one's not permanent, they could at any time send me to an appointment to get reevaluated to see if there's any improvement on that disability. All right, so that's kind of a breakdown of that. The percentages are very confusing. I know a lot of people get pissed about it. I understand it's really dumb because all of mine added up is like 250, and still if I lost one of them, I'd be down to 90. But the other thing I wanted to show you guys was also same website. If you are trying to figure out how much you would get paid. So this is their little chart, and it goes by what percentage you're rated at. So, and then it has with or without children. So if we go down here, so if you have only 10 or 20% no dependents, you're not going to be getting a whole lot. And then they have without children and with children. So we'll look at, let's see, you're 100% without children. So 100%, and say you're married. So veterans with spouse. You're going to go over here. You're going to get $3,227.58 a month. That's only one check per month. But if you're married and you have children, so veteran with spouse and child, that is 60%, excuse me. Veteran with spouse and child, $3,352.41. And then what they do is if you have additional children under the age of 18, you'll go down here and you'll see add for each child under age 18. So depending on what percentage you're at. So another $84.69 or whatever percentage you're at. And then there's different notes on here. So if your kids are over a certain age, if they're like going to college or something like that. I'm not going to worry about that yet because my kids are really little. But I hope this helps somebody. Kind of a breakdown. It's really kind of hard to figure out. And a lot of people get pissed. I'm on Facebook groups help out a lot. So if you're trying to get information on your exams and like I don't want to say anything bad, but because the doctors that do these evaluations are essentially paid by the VA, so you just have to don't hold back like you would in the military about whatever disability it is. If it hurts, it hurts. Tell them. Don't just say, it's okay, it's not that bad, because it will reflect on your compensation. And you know what, you did your time in the military, and if you got this disability from that, you deserve to get compensated for it. So my heart disease thing, that started in 2017, and I didn't realize how severe it was until I just got these exams done, and I'm actually going to try and reach out to get some specialist appointments. But like some of the other ones, it's just, wear and tear in your body, tendonitis, and essentially arthritis and stuff like that. But hopefully this helps somebody. I'll try and do another video on breaking down some other stuff for you guys. Really appreciate it. Thank you for viewing my last video on, if you haven't caught it, things to know before you leave the military. So I'm going to do another one on some other struggles that I faced after my separation date, of what happened. A lot of crazy stuff. It's funny how people don't make sure they change the dates on your on your separation stuff. But all right, have a good week, everybody.